We are Rogue Media Sports.
Memorial Studio, the world famous Alico building. Thank you for joining us on this Thursday. We have got the Celtics revenge game gone wrong to talk about. We've got to catch up on the Bruins and whether they're just bullies. They might just be bullies. And we'll, of course, have Pete Souza on later in the show. Scotty, I got a couple questions for you here. How do you know that a vampire loves baseball?
Tell me.
Because he turns into a bat every night.
There
Why is the football field so hot after the game? Because all the fans left.
Oh my! Is this an announcement? All the dad jokes. What's up?
This is so good. Here's one. It's more of a brain teaser.
All right.
Okay. John bet Tom $100 that he can predict the score of a football game before it starts. Tom agrees, but loses the bet right away. Why did Tom lose the bet? Because John said the score would be 0-0, and he was right. Before any football game starts, it's 0-0. And how come we drive on a parkway and park in a driveway? It doesn't make any sense.
It's one of those weeks, isn't it?
Why is there an interstate highway in Hawaii?
It's one of those weeks, isn't it, Cam?
I don't know how this popped up, but the one that's right after the vampire loves baseball is what animal is best at baseball? A bat. I don't know if it's supposed to be in order. Why can't you play basketball with pigs? Because they'll hog the ball. Come on.
Cam, you don't have to.
These were supposed to be.
Up,
These were supposed to be brain teasers, and all of them are dad jokes.
Yeah, big time.
What has 18 legs and catches flies? A baseball team. Oh, this is, I guess, a bit of a brain. It says it's a riddle, but there's one sport in which neither the spectators nor the participants know the score or the leader until the contest ends. What is it? It would be boxing, yeah. You got it. I mean, you can kind of know who a leader is, but technically you don't, right? Technically you don't. I kind of want to keep going with this, but I know we probably shouldn't. It's a good start to my day. How about that to wake you up? It is my name on the show, damn it.
You want.
I have thought one of these days, I'm guessing when we're around the holidays or something, but even the Celtics will be playing. And obviously we won't do a show on Christmas or anything, but I should have done it in the summer when things were slowing down. I want to do just like an entire trivia episode, man. Just an hour of trivia. You give me trivia, I give you trivia. And it's just nothing. There's no build up to anything. There's no
rhyme or reason for anything.
No, there's no like reward or like moving up levels. I don't think. I think it's just that. I think it's just trivia for an hour. We mix in. It doesn't have to be just sports. Obviously, a lot of sports, but like in the middle, I just think of challenges for myself. I'm like, how far back can I go? I did this the other day when I was high, just by myself. I did like, how far back can I go for Stanley Cup winning captains? And I got back to, I think, 86. I don't think I knew the 86 Canadiens one. I barely got the 93 Canadiens one, which was Guy Carbonneau. Like that really pulled that out of the bag. Which is funny because once we get past 86, man, 84 and 85 were Gretzky. 80 to 83 was Dennis Potvin, I think. Oh, I should double check that one. So I can go back I can go like another 10 years if I just get that. But I didn't get that, Scotty, so it doesn't count. One of these days, that's what it's going to be. And Pete's going to be like, dude, whatever, dude.
I'll start putting together my list.
I need that. I need that. My only party trick is that I can name every World Series winner after World War II and most before. So like
That's pretty
we just
good.
like get drunk and people will just throw out years at me and I mean I can do the I can do the Stanley Cup winners since the first expansion, so that's 67. I could do all NBA winners from like sheesh, almost all of them since I guess 68. And NFL, I just get tripped up on the year versus the number of the Super Bowl. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I
Very
can
confusing.
get there, but it takes me a minute. So name a year after World War II.
1959.
Okay, that's good. That's a good year. The Dodgers beat the White Sox. Everyone always says 73 or 72. I don't know why. Both of the A's, by the way. They won it from 72 through 74. But that's the only like party trick I have going. And this is not a brag, but rather something that's sad. But it's been my party trick for like 10, 12 years now.
If it ain't broke, don't fix it.
I guess if people are still into it. And I can get about like 80% of the ones before World War II. Like I'm pretty good with those two. Anyway, golly, that was the first 7 minutes of this show was just nonsense, just pure nonsense. That's what the Celtics looked like down the stretch last night against the Warriors. Pure nonsense. Oh my God, I was in a time machine. It was right back to the 2022 NBA Finals. I've been talking a lot about the Twilight Zone recently and how into that show I am. But which is very topical. It started in 1959, the year the Dodgers beat the White Sox in the World Series. Anyway, it felt like the Twilight Zone. It felt like we were right back in 2022. I'm like, what am I missing here? There's no Klay Thompson on the other end. Draymond Green is even a shell of what he was 2 years ago, but that's where we were. We were like with like 4 or 5 minutes left and texting one of my friends during the game, and I was like, I know the script. Steph Curry's about to go nuclear. This is the 2022 finals. Now, he didn't really go nuclear. He obviously had a very good game, but he didn't do what he did in that finals. But that's what it was, man. They just fell apart down the stretch. They're throwing the ball over the place. They were not getting the key stops. I mean, that's what it was. 118 to 112 is the final. And the Celtics just did not make the stops. The Warriors had the answer every time. It was an absolute time machine. A time warp. Let's do the time warp again. The Rocky Horror Picture Show that was the Celtics and Warriors last night. And I told this to you, Scotty, yesterday. We were talking about the revenge aspect. Obviously, that was a big part of it. The big overlying headline of that game was the revenge that Jason Tatum was going to get on Steve Kerr. And I was thinking like, well, not thinking, I said it out loud. Like, how are they going to react to things like this? Jaylen Brown obviously did not play in this game for an injury. But, like, how is Tatum going to respond to this revenge aspect of things? Is he going to try and do too much and get the Celtics out of their game? Is he going to have that Mamba mentality that he wants so bad? How's it going to go? And weirdly, we got an in between. Tatum had a good game. He scored 32. I think he only had 2 in the fourth quarter, though. Which was not great, but I don't think it was like because that Tatum was going ISO and taking fadeaways and taking contested shots or anything like that. So he played a good enough game. The Celtics were just not the Celtics at all last night, and big credit of that goes to Golden State, by the way. I have been hearing about this Warriors defense and how it was different, and we saw it to a national TV audience last night. I was talking about how this national audience would be huge for all the Celtics narratives, but in fact, it helps out the Warriors big time because there's the rumors of Golden State having this top 5 defense potentially in the NBA this year. They showed it last night, and they're already in those metrics. I think it was number 2 versus number 4 teams in defense, and they blitzed the hell out of everything. We are seeing a completely new Warrior strategy, which is fascinating to me. Now, the Warriors' defense in those championship teams was a little underrated. They were a pretty good defensive team, not a great defensive team, and they were known for their offense and the way they revolutionized things. But much like the Celtics now, who are known for their offense and revolutionizing things, they're pretty good defensive teams. And this iteration of the Warriors that I saw last night are a better defensive team than what they've had in years past when they were winning NBA championships. Now, the talent level is not as good as those championship teams, but the defense is better. And I found it pretty interesting, by the way, early in this game, Buddy Hield hit a couple threes off the bench. Buddy Hield leads the NBA in three-pointers off the bench. And the broadcast was just marveling at it. Breen, Jay Billis, Doris Burke, specifically Doris, they were like, she was like, oh my God, he's been such a good three-point shooter this year. What a benefit. You know, such an elite three-point shooter this season. I'm like, Buddy Hield's been one of the best three-point shooters on the planet for a decade now. Like, I guess because we saw him in college, he was incredible. But like, he has been a damn good shooter his whole career. He's played on some shitty teams, and I guess that's why we lose him in the fold. But those numbers have not changed, man. He has been a 40-45% three-point shooter his whole career. He's been that good. And he's a big-time asset for them, mainly offensively. But the other guys, they've bought in defensively. And they, by the way, speaking of defense in this game, the Celtics just dared Draymond to shoot a couple threes. Dared him. And like, there was one where Pritchard just totally went off him. He had an elbow three, and Pritchard's just doubling the guy who's closest to him. And there was one in the final minute that he gets a corner three wide open. Nobody's near him. And so he finally takes it. It's like an air ball. Maybe it grazes the front rim, and Golden State gets an offensive rebound and scores. And then Draymond has like the free throws to put it away, to make it a 4-point game. And he's like shushing the crowd. And I'm like, man, that's what's so frustrating. Just like the finals. It's just like 22. Draymond didn't do shit to help his team win that game. And he gets the last laugh, as he should. I mean, right? He hits the free throw to make it a 4-point game, ends this thing, and shushes the crowd. You know, it's different when Steph is hitting these back-breaking threes and putting the crowd to sleep. You know, that's one thing. But Draymond is doing nothing out there. They're daring him to shoot threes, and they're right to. But he gets the win. And the Warriors prove something, man. They have proven the last couple of years after winning that 22 title that they are a proud franchise that is not just going to blow this thing up. They're going to scratch and claw to play in postseason basketball, and maybe number 30 will go nuclear, and that'll win them a series potentially. That's like the best case scenario for them. And they showed a lot of grit, a lot of toughness, a lot of heart of a champion, all that bullshit last night. Because, you know, we talked about it from the aspect of Jason Tatum revenge game, Steve Kerr, and the way the Celtics always measure themselves against the Warriors, even last year when they were a much better team. But we failed to look at it from the Warriors standpoint. They hear the shit they're talking about Steve Kerr. They hear their coach getting booed in the pregame introductions. And they're a team that has, you know, some of those guys have 4 championship rings. A couple of them have a championship ring as well outside of those guys, outside of Curry and Green. They're not just going to go down easy. And they're thinking of this game as national TV, NBA champions, their building. Why not us, man? Why aren't they talking about us? And they went in there and got a big-time win. They should be celebrating it. It reminds me of what we were talking about yesterday with when the Warriors were at their peak, when the Celtics would go into Oracle and win. And that was a big-time statement. 2016, ending that home winning streak. 2017, they won there as well. 2017-18, this one was at the Garden. They held the held the Warriors under 90 points. Like, those were big time statement wins for a Celtics team that was not really championship caliber yet. And now flash forward it to 2024, November of 24, the Celtics are championship caliber. They're the defending champs. The Warriors are not. And it's Golden State turning the tables. How the turntables. It felt just like that finals, man. Oh, I was getting bad flashbacks because the Warriors brought it defensively. They were outplaying the Celtics the whole first half. They had a double-digit lead at halftime, if I'm not mistaken, right? Yeah, it was 51-40 at halftime. 40 points for the Celtics at halftime. They get that in the first quarter, like every night they get 40. 40 to the first half, 16 second quarter points. What the hell? So that felt like a finals game in 22. Warriors kind of came out the stronger team, and then the Celtics figured it out, and they got things going. And they really kind of had the game where they wanted it in the fourth quarter. They were up 7 about midway through the fourth quarter with all the momentum. I think it was 95-88. And then they just fell apart down the stretch. Fell apart. 95-88, and they end up giving up 118. It was just like it, man. And Curry had a couple of those threes where I was just like, I was almost doing it to myself, man. Just putting myself to bed. Obviously, it's November. Does it mean a lot? No, but there is one game that you can point to if you're Joe Mazzulla and say, you know what? Forget the individual revenge bullshit of it all. And I know that Jason Tatum, I don't think Tatum was like trying to go for 50. I don't think it was really detrimental to the team. I think his teammates wanted to win for him as well. But I think this is a lesson of just don't get wrapped up in all that. Like, just don't. We didn't get wrapped up in it last year when we could have all the time. And they ignored the outside noise all of last year. They didn't let themselves get too high, even though they were dominating the league. It's got to be that way again. They've got the blueprint for what it takes to win the title. They've got the psycho at coach to make sure that they stick to that blueprint. And this is a game that they'll point to later on in the season as just one where they got over, or not got over, but that set a mental bar for them. You know what I mean? Like, I wouldn't say they got over the mental hurdle because they lost, but that's going to be one they point to later on when there's some other headline, some other bullshit brewing, and they ignore it, take care of business. They don't get bogged down in it. January 20th is when these two teams will play again. This is not one it's not as big as Celtics Knicks or maybe even Celtics Heat, but it's one that these players will get up for. That West Coast swing, which of course will include a game with the Lakers too. But this is going to be the one that the Celtics players circle because they know how big this one is. Anyway, we got to talk Bruins. Bruins have not been as fun as the Celtics overall this year, but both are coming off a loss. And wouldn't you know, we're shifting things around again. Matt Barrie, the Bruins Benders podcast, joins us next on The Cam Show.
Nobody tells our stories better than our clients.
The difference is stark. I was rear-ended at a stop. I thought I was fine, and then once I got home, I realized it's a lot worse than I thought. I ended up having a ruptured disc. You say you're not hurting, and then an hour later, you're saying you're in all this pain. I just felt like most people would think that I was lying. That's when I decided to call Daniel Stark. I owe a lot to Daniel Stark. They really got me what I deserved.
The difference is stark.
We definitely love our relationship and love Extraco. It's been an amazing experience.
They made the PPP process easier. They were reaching out to me saying, what can I do to help you? That made a huge difference because my stress level, when we shut down, to afterwards was night and day.
Our experience with Extraco has been phenomenal since the very beginning, so we love Extraco.
Welcome to a special edition of the Doomsday Podcast. Look at this. We got one of the great golfers in the world, Certainly one of the great pass rushers in NFL history.
But he also had a vision for you. And so it was like you had the best of both worlds, right? You had somebody on you early, and then you had somebody who was maybe more relaxed.
What were a couple of your biggest takeaways? The person you referred to that I spoke with, I've spoken to some personnel people and general managers of the league to get some, independent, objective assessments of the players the Cowboys picked, and we'll go through that. Has the general manager changed at all in the draft for you?
Nope, it's been the same since I was here the last time.
Nobody tells our stories better than our clients.
The difference is stark. I was rear-ended at a stop. I thought I was fine, and then once I got home, I realized it's a lot worse than I thought. I ended up having a ruptured disc. You say you're not hurting, and then an hour later, you're saying you're in all this pain. I just felt like most people would think that I was lying. And that's when I decided to call Daniel Stark. I owe a lot to Daniel Stark. They really got me what I deserved.
The difference is stark.
We definitely love our relationship and love Extraco. It's been an amazing experience.
They made the PPP process easier. They were reaching out to me saying, what can I do to help you? That made a huge difference because my stress level, when we shut down, to afterwards was night and day.
Our experience with Extraco has been phenomenal since the very beginning, so we love Extraco.
Welcome to a special edition of the Doomsday Podcast. Look at this. We got one of the great golfers in the world, certainly one of the great pass rushers in NFL history.
But he also had a vision for you. And so it was like you had the best of both worlds, right? You had somebody on you early, and then you had somebody who was maybe more relaxed.
What were a couple of your biggest takeaways? The person you referred to that I spoke with, I've spoken to some personnel people and general managers of the league to get some, independent, objective assessments of the players the Cowboys picked, and we'll go through that. Has the general manager changed at all in the draft for you?
Nope, it's been the same since I was here the last time.
Back here on the Cam Show, Rogue Media Sports Network, inside the Colt Brennan Memorial Studio. We'll have Pete Souza later in the show, waiting on Matt Barry of Bruins Benders podcast here. But it's not been a great week for the Bruins after like a weird kind of good 2 days. But I remember last Friday here on the Cam Show, we were talking about that 8-2 demolition at the hands of the Carolina Hurricanes on Halloween night. And the Bruins did something in that game that I had never seen in a hockey game before. Like they had a minute-long sequence that was just unfathomable to me. They gave up 3 goals in 56 seconds, and 2 of them were power play goals, but no major penalties were called. Let's recap that. Let's take you through how that happens. So you take a penalty, then you give up a power play goal. And so from that point on, the next shift is arguably your most important of the game so far, right? You've just given up a goal after giving up a penalty, right? You've done the skate of shame and all of that. It's time to get the momentum back on this shift. What do? They give up an even strength goal about 20 seconds later, a bad goal to give up, Dmitry Orlov. And now you're really like, okay, guys, let's bear down. Let's get some momentum back. Let's get some zone time. Maybe throw in a big hit in there. Clean this act up. Okay, we just gave up 2 goals in 30 seconds. And one of them was on the power play. So, all right, big shift here. Clean it up. Let's send out our best guys. Then they take another penalty. And then they give up another power play goal within a half a minute. Like that is so bad. There's some lack of skill there, sure. But that is just terrible want to from that team. I don't know if it's bad coaching, if it's bad leadership, bad effort, or all 3. But it could well be all 3. And to do that once is enough of an indictment. But less than a week later, they essentially did it again. in that game against Toronto Tuesday night. 2 goals allowed in 1 minute and 15 seconds, both on the power play, none coming with a major penalty. No major penalty called. So again, penalty, power play goal. All right, boys, let's tighten it up. No goals here. Another penalty and another power play goal. For a team, by the way, that was like 10% on their power play going into this and did not have the league's leading goal scorer from a year ago. He was out. They scored twice on you in 1 minute, 15 seconds. Oh, that's bad. That's bad. That kind of goes with everything. That's bad coaching. That's bad effort. That's no skill. And what really bothered me towards the end of that game in the third period was the Bruins did turn it on a little bit, right? They did have some pressure 5-on-5, which we very rarely see from this team. They're one of the worst teams in the league in 5-on-5 offense. And they're not much better on 5-on-4 offense, to be frank. But with like 8 minutes left in that game, they start to really put some pressure on in terms of zone time, 5-on-5. It's like back-to-back or 3 in a row shifts for Toronto where they can't get out of their own end. And through all that, the Bruins don't really put up many shots still, and they don't score. They still get shut out. And so I'm sitting there thinking, even when this team turns it on, they don't have the quality. They don't have the skill. They can't make a team pay for it. That's what's bugging me, is they do a lot of stupid crap, and then even when they're not being stupid, they're still not playing good hockey. And it really shows itself with A, their below 500 record, and B, the stupidity and lack of skill shows itself in the special teams numbers. Their power play percentage is 29th in the league. Their penalty minutes, they are still at the top by 20 minutes. They're number 1 in the league in PIMS, and second behind them is a team that is 10 minor penalties below them. The Bruins have taken 10 more minor penalties than the next closest team. Now that should bug you as a Bruins fan, not only because it shows they're stupid, but it's stupid crap. It's not like they're, having a couple of line brawls and have had a couple of games where they finished with an empty bench and that's why they lead the league in penalty minutes. No, it's trippings and hookings and, too many men on the ice calls, which we saw all the time in the postseason. It's just small crap, and it's in the offensive zone. They're taking penalties. Pastrnak gets the ultimate call out. He gets benched for an entire period in a win on Sunday. The coach admits after the game it's a coach's decision and that he was lazy on a play in the second period. And he comes back and he's a -1, couple of shots on goal, I think 4 shots on goal in this Toronto game, takes a penalty in the offensive zone, which leads to a power play goal. Zadorov takes a stupid penalty and then way behind the play, and then tries to give a couple of extra ones to a guy on the ice whose back is on the ice, hoping that the refs wouldn't see it. He's been an absolute just waste, just getting cardio out there. Takes a penalty every game, does not deliver any kind of game-changing checks, doesn't put guys on their ass in front of the net. None of the things that you were hoping he would bring you. Obviously not a point guy, but that doesn't move the puck at all. Just a waste. And that contract it's not huge, but they did overpay for him. That's going to look like an absolute albatross. Absolute albatross. Do we have him, Scotty? No? Okay. So I'll keep going. I'll keep going about how much this team stinks. And the thing is, they're going to win just enough. They're going to win just enough to not be a lottery team, not be a team in that top 5 in the NHL draft. They're not there because they're not trying to be there. They probably are pretty close to having the talent to be picking in the top 5, but they're not going to do it. And it's to some degree that's frustrating. Of course you want them to win, but They're going to be bullies. They're going to beat up on the little teams, and they're not going to beat the teams that they're not supposed to beat ever. And this week is a perfect microcosm of that. The last week of Bruins hockey. They get crushed by a Carolina team that's better than them. I don't know if Carolina is necessarily a real like top 2 or 3 cup contender in the East, but better than the Bruins, and they crushed them. Then you played 2 pretty bad teams, 2 teams that are not going to make the playoffs, Philadelphia and Seattle. Shut them out, both of them. Congrats. All right, let's use that momentum in an arena in Toronto for a playoff team. You go on the road, you take on a team that is better than you, that is going to make the postseason, but has been pretty evenly matched the last few years. Shut out by them, 4-0. Never had a chance after the first period. Never had a chance. And even with Matthews not out there, it just really went to show that you just don't have enough. You just don't have enough horses in the stable. Because even when you're trying hard, when you're not playing stupid, which they do a lot of the time, it doesn't matter. You don't have enough. And that's all the way down. That's ownership, that's front office, that's coaching, that's players. And actually, I thought Matt and Smitty brought up a good point on the post-game show after Toronto about Jim Montgomery. And we've all admitted this season, it's not all Jim Montgomery, but Jim Montgomery does not have clean hands here. This is not something where it's like, oh, well, he's doing the best he can, but look at the roster, even though some people are saying that. He does say he's in the green room. Or I hope I didn't send him the wrong link. That could be bad. Let's look around. As I talk about what Maddie was talking about on the post game. Do we have him? All right. We've got him. Matt Barrie, Bruins Benders podcast. Let's bring him in. Here he is. All right, Matt. Sorry about that. Technical difficulties. We got you on here. We were just talking about Jim Montgomery. I'm sure you were listening in there. But the point that you and Smitty made on the post-game pod was like, obviously it's not all Jim Montgomery, but there is, you got to put some blame in coaching here. They make the same stupid mistakes all the time. When you're the most penalized team in the league by a wide margin, that's not all on players / roster. Like there's some coaching things there that they're not working out. But the point was, it feels like front office and Jim Montgomery haven't loved each other the last year or so. And if he's not the guy, A, why is he still here now? And B, why was he not canned before the season after you knew there was a ton of deficiencies in this team in that playoff run? So, is that what you guys are seeing here? Like in terms of the same stupid mistakes all the time? Like a big part of that is coaching, right?
It is. If your team looks like this, that's what happens.
We might have.
Got me now?
It comes with a lot of echo, but we got you.
Yeah. Good now?
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. All right. Here we try it. Okay. So anyway, a lot of the penalties are the same types.
I think we got you now.
Okay. Well, a lot of the penalties are the same types of penalties, in the neutral zone, in the offensive zone, stick infractions like crazy, like just kind of lazy, careless stick infractions by your veterans. Pasternak again the other night. And I think in coaching, and I've coached basketball many, many years, like if your team looks like that, that has to be partly on you as a coach, especially when it's over and over again. And we talk in hockey all the time about the message in the room and whether or not teams are behind the message of the coach. It just doesn't seem like that's the case.
Yeah, I don't know necessarily what the identity of this team is in a positive sense. I've only seen it from the negative sense. They're a team that takes a lot of penalties. They don't generate any offense, 5 on 5. And to your point, I mean, that's the most frustrating part. It's not like they've had a couple of, real Donnie Brooks that puts them high up in the penalty minutes, and they're not enforcing anything. It's this crap. It is this crap. And you talk about how big the D-core is and how tough they're going to be to play against because they're so physical. And we kind of sniffed out that bullshit after about a week. But I think that's the most damning thing is you have this massive D-core because that's the team you built. That's the intimidating team you want to be. And yet you're going to the penalty box every game for trips and hooks and crap in the offensive zone. It's so frustrating. And so obviously the response to that from Jim Montgomery is line shuffling. And boy, do we have some more today. After a couple of weeks, well, you signed him as your number one center. You gave him number one center money or what you thought. After a couple of weeks, Elias Lindholm moved down second line. Now you have Tyler Johnson, who you just signed off the street a couple days ago with Zacha and Pasternak on the first line for the practice lines this morning. Marchand, Lindholm, Brazeau, Kepke, Coyle, Patra on the right wing on that third line. Beecher, Kastelic, Frederick as the forward lines this AM. That from Fluto Shinzawa, who is pretty on top of these things. At what point do you just say, can we roll with the same lines for like 4 or 5 games?
I'm with you. Like I think part of this thing is that the lines have to have some sort of rhythm and some sort of continuity. So if you go out and you only score a goal, I think it's more about how many chances are you getting? If you go out and get 34 shots on goal and the goalie stands on his head or what have you, and you only score a goal, there's no need to shuffle the lines the next game. So I'd like to see them really analyze like how they played, like how many high danger chances did you get? I mean, if you got nothing and you were terrible, then I get it. But if you're not, if it's more of you're just not finishing, changing the lines is not going to help you finish. Guys have to put the puck in the net. So that's my gripe with it. Like, it's not going to fix itself if you keep shuffling these guys around. I mean, Tyler Johnson hadn't played hockey in forever, and now you're putting him on the top line. Pavel Zacha wasn't good enough to be a center. Now he's a top line center. And I just think there's a disconnect. I think the biggest problem right now is that offensively, there's a disconnect between management and the coach on how this team is going to play. And my co-host on the show has said this a million times. Like, he would like to see them be a more aggressive forechecking team, force the issue. They don't do it enough. The fourth line did it some, and there were results. The team doesn't do it throughout. I'm not sure exactly what they're doing offensively. I'm not sure everyone's on the same page offensively. And I think that's why you're seeing some of the penalties. I don't think there's true buy-in, and the players know that they're not fully prepared and put in the best position to win.
I think that disconnect is so apparent too. Like, I mean, again, we kind of just went through what they went in the offseason. They wanted to get bigger. They wanted to have more muscle. And it's like, I don't know how much that wins in the NHL anymore, the way it did 15 years ago. Like, you obviously have to have some of it because you look at Florida, and Florida has out-physicaled you the last 2 years, especially last year. But Florida also has a ton of skill. Like, you know what I mean? Like, Barkov can knock you around at the center position, but he's also maybe the most valuable center in hockey because he's very skilled. All right, Kachuk, very skilled. You know what I mean? And the Bruins aren't good in either of those categories. They're not knocking guys on their ass, and they're not scoring goals or producing any kind of offense 5-on-5. There's no one with any skill, and there's no one that's really intimidating you on that side. And I know we can criticize them in the talent that they have, but at some point you do have to just see what the chemistry of this hockey team is, because you don't have the skill. You don't have the intimidation. You don't have structure, partially because no one knows who they're playing with from game to game. And it's like, this didn't work last night. So, all right, let's just switch it up today.
Right.
And it's like now, and then you get fool's gold when you do win some games because you
Mhm.
win against two pretty shit teams in
Mhm.
in Philly and Seattle, and it's like,
Mhm.
all right, well, all right, yeah, I'm not going to criticize you for winning, but
Hmm.
now you're going to keep that same line. And it's just it's an absolute clusterfuck right now.
It is.
Its team and its roster management and the coaching behind it. And
Right.
I don't want to sound too bleak, but we talk about this all the time, Matt. It's like I don't know where it gets better until you let either some chemistry develop or you light a fire under their ass, which
Right.
we
And like what we
week.
talked about, what we talked about in the podcast that
or
dropped today
hiring
was
a coach.
on the pod today.
But the rumors came out on Twitter, and it hasn't been totally substantiated, just like one or two accounts. But
Right.
it caught my eye this week, and I'm interested to hear what you have to say about this, Matt. Is
Mm.
apparently there might be some interest in Trent Frederick. Now,
Sure.
for me, I'm good. Go right ahead. Sure. If you can get anything for Trent Frederick, I'm
Sure.
here for it.
I am too. I am too. Yeah, I am too. I think they should let him go. I look. There seems I listening to Razor today on sports radio talking about Trent Frederick and his value.
Just not much there in the value. He leads or is the worst on the team in plus minus. He's just absolutely giving you nothing in the checking, or he's not going to be a 20-goal guy again. And it kind of goes back to the fallacy of the 24 Bruins, which is we probably didn't realize it at the time, and we probably should have, but you got career years out of probably Frederick, Danton Heinen, Morgan Geekie, Charlie Coyle, and that's just
Pavel
that's
Zacha.
the way it is. And until you rebuild this roster and retool it, that's just the way it's going to be. Matt, thank you. I know we had some technical difficulties in there. Thanks so much for joining the pod once again. Every Thursday, we will have Matt Barry of the Bruins Benders podcast, new episode today. And then after every Bruins game, it gets the worse they get, the more entertaining it is. I'm with you, win, lose, or draw, but it is entertaining. And I know it gets great views when the team is not doing too well. So, Matt, thank you so much. And we will keep up with the Bruins, obviously, all season long with that. Pete Souza, a guy we keep up with all the time. He's going to be on the show next. On the Cam Show is what it's called. Commercial break.
Nobody tells our stories better than our clients.
The difference is stark. I was rear-ended at 70 miles an hour. I was injured, had a concussion. The insurance company, they delayed. They were playing games from the initial conversation. They weren't going to help me. The biggest thing I learned through this is that you can't go through this alone. I called Daniel Stark. They were going to help me, and everything was going to be all right. Daniel Stark got me 10 times the insurance company offered.
The difference is Stark.
We definitely love our relationship and love Extraco. It's been an amazing experience.
They made the PPP process easier. They were reaching out to me saying, what can I do to help you? That made a huge difference because my stress level, when we shut down, to afterwards was night and day.
Our experience with Extraco has been phenomenal since the very beginning. So we love Extraco.
It is Matt Mosley, and it's the Obstructed View podcast, Rogue Media Network. I think they're learning that there's really no wonderful view of me. I feel like they think this feed's going to be really wonderful.
There must have been no BS, like 20 scouts, 15 to 20 NBA scouts there to see him, and he was top 5.
When your old number wasn't working, I went through various channels to track you down. So unfortunately, you can never get away from me. But I'm happy. Man. I'm happy to have you today.
No, thanks for having me. And you know, we always family, no matter where I'm at.
I mean, yeah, a new coach comes in, they're going to turn the roster. I think that's just We've got all these transfer portal stats and what Dion did and what Fritz has done. I mean, that's the deal, man. That's the game that's being played nowadays.
Maybe a little bit unknown at quarterback. I mean, unknown to the rest of the world, but he dove into the portal and got a guy who is super, super athletic.
South Dakota State's really good. Give us a little bit of breakdown about what they can do and what Oklahoma State needs to be worried about.
But look at that form right there. I need to say nothing else about this because I found one.
Pete.
What up, Cam?
God, it was the end of that commercial break. It's the only thing to stop you from fucking yapping.
Dude, I slept till 9 a.m. today.
What?
I have not done that.
How'd you get that?
Well, I've been going 100 miles an hour, and I was like, you know what? I was up till like 12 or whatever, and I was like, I need to sleep, dude. I need to and so I was like, if you can sleep till 9 o'clock, you're gonna do it, pal. And I woke up at like 2. I got like a quick bite to eat, which I so often do, and then I went back to bed till 9 o'clock.
Look at you, man.
Yeah.
I can't wait for that Saturday because it's been a couple weeks since I've been able to sleep in. So
I mean, it is.
Really
for me too, it's been forever. And I was just like, sometimes, and you have to be careful because it can get scary. Your body teaches you who's boss eventually. That's what happens. And you'll oversleep or something. Like, dude, I had moments when I was doing morning news where I got into this funk where I was driving back and forth to Austin and Dallas. That's where my girlfriend and I lived. We moved a little bit at the time, and I was probably sleeping 3-4 hours a night.
Ugh.
And waking up at 3:30 a.m. for the morning show, and I hit this run, dude, where I just couldn't wake up. And one time my boss came to my house. They had the police do a welfare check.
Oh my God.
One time. The first time it happened, the police did a welfare check, and they thought I was dead.
That's got to be an interesting situation because when you don't show up for work and you don't answer anything, that's what prompts that.
Yeah.
But when your work is when you're supposed to show up at 3:30 in the morning, you could just be deep in your REM sleep.
And so that happened one time. And then another time, my boss actually was knocking and we came to my house because we only had one anchor. He was like, get dressed, get in there. Keisha's off. Allie's on her own at the desk. I was like, oh shit.
Allie Cadlebar?
Yeah, Allie
of Waco and Magazine.
Yeah, we anchored together a couple times.
Nice. I've been the opposite, not to a huge degree, but there's sometimes I'll just go months where I can't sleep in at all.
Yeah.
And I'm kind of in the mix of it now. Now, the last 2 weeks, I haven't had the opportunity to, but
yeah,
that's why that's one of the things I'm excited for this move. I have no job lined up. I'll have some income from this, right? Rogue pays me well, but it's Chicago. It's a different cost of living. I'll need to get a job, and I'm not worried about it because I'm going to get there right before Christmas. So I don't know how many people are going to be hiring and want you to start right before Christmas.
Yeah.
And it's the selfish person in me is fuck, you get to sleep.
Dude.
You get to sleep a little bit.
And I'll tell you, Cam,
you get to read a book.
As you get older, sleeping does
work
come
out. Maybe I might even work out.
Why? You look so fit now.
I really don't.
Well, you're always wearing workout clothes. As far as we're concerned, you're always working out.
Yeah. Yeah. I am working in workout clothes. Does that count?
Yeah.
No, I got to get back to the boxing gym.
You got the Bill Simmons going on.
Sure.
I love my joggers. I got to wear joggers all the time. I love them.
Someone from ESPN Central Texas was not Mosley was making fun of me wearing sweatpants to a remote show. And I'm like, couldn't give a shit less.
No, those are joggers, dude. They're in. People need to get
I'm not. I've always kind of dressed like a slob, and working in news for years, you had to wear a suit every time you went on the air,
dude. 100%.
Every night, and obviously, professional looking when you went out in the field.
Yeah.
And then I worked in admissions. Same thing. Couldn't wear sneakers to work. Even, sneakers, dress pants, sneakers, golf pants are kind of in too, but couldn't do it.
That was our first phone call when you were working in admissions. Go ahead.
Was it really?
I think so.
Yeah. I'm not surprised. And so now I have, and I've been losing my hair and I like wearing hats. And so now I was like, I'm in a job where I don't have to dress up. I can wear whatever I want every day. I'm going to take advantage of that.
Yeah.
I don't know when that's going to happen again.
No, and I think you're taking full advantage. You're really you're hitting.
I am. I am.
So mission accomplished.
Like it's
on
not.
that.
I guess I'm not wearing like Belichick hoodies necessarily. Like it's not beaten up or anything. But yeah, I wear stuff like this. I mean, you guys see it: hat, a long sleeve dry fit, which is my favorite thing ever put on this earth, and some joggers. And sometimes I don't even wear shoes in the studio.
Yeah, some people react differently. Look, that show Inside the 12 I do, they sent a screenshot of me in the Cam Scatteraboo jersey 2 days ago, like to the group. One of my buddies was like, hey, awesome setup. But like other people didn't respond. And I'm like, those people are probably like, what is this 44-year-old man doing in a Cam Scatteraboo jersey in the middle of the day?
Jersey.
Like, come on, buddy, come up from your basement and get to work.
What a life, though, Pete. What a life.
I'm going with it. I finally get to really embrace the person I've always wanted to embrace. So I'm going full throttle.
Hell yeah.
We wanted to know what I wanted to talk about today. So
it's gonna be something dumb.
No, I mean, you'll find it interesting. You'll find it really upsetting. So
upsetting.
I have a couple Baylor basketball games I'm going to do, like early in the season, like radio games, right? Like filling in, like J-Mo was like, hey, would you be interested? 1,000%.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah.
On our airways, working with Aaron.
Yeah. So it's a lot of fun.
And I noticed you didn't drop my name.
What do you mean drop your name?
Pete didn't say, I work for ESPN. I'm kind of too big for this, but I know this guy.
No, beat it, Cam. I need like to get some reps in before like conference play starts. So I mean, I would do it for free. So
my favorite radio thing is laughing at things that aren't funny.
And by the way, it's like, what else would I rather be doing than call? That's why I love it.
I'm kidding, Pete.
Anyways,
it's a good gig, actually.
I have a process that I do. A part of the process is getting I don't care what game I'm calling. If I can get this group that I work with to produce spotting boards for me, I will, right? Because my whole thing is like, and now it's to the point where they just put the names in. There's no phonetic pronunciation. So I did all that myself this morning. But because I got Baylor's board for basketball. Here's what happened, and I lost my crap, and I'm probably gonna. I'm drifting away from this outlet, anyways. Deep reserves. So there's starters, reserves, deep reserves, like the last three guys.
Yeah,
Langston Love,
deep reserve, because he didn't play in game one. deep. So whoever put the board is not going to play. Deep reserve should be like,
so whoever
might not even have the jersey on under the warm up.
Basically, like the person putting it together was like, well, I don't know who the fuck this is. Like he didn't play. Let me look.
Oh god.
So you lose complete faith.
Yeah, it makes you wonder what else is wrong.
Yes, and that's so. But it still is part of the process. I'm gonna, I made I honestly, I don't know how to move him up in the Excel doc, but I'm going to figure it out. I could send like a hot email. I've done that before.
Oh boy, did I get a hot email yesterday. I sent
saw
that to you. You didn't respond to it.
Well,
it's just someone who
I read it. I didn't quite understand. So the people from,
it's also so inside baseball that, it's just someone who was mad that I didn't tell them when all of my episodes were dropping.
Okay.
And I was like, well, it's every day. It's in this channel. They're like, I don't know how to find it. Well, you just search it. Search the channel.
The person admittedly said they knew nothing about sports, which I always appreciate when people are like, hey, I don't know how to navigate this. But it was kind of like a nothing email. It's like, why are you sending me this?
I know. It was like 3 paragraphs of like kind of angry, but nothing. Like,
but you know what it is? It's somebody justifying their existence. In my opinion.
Yeah. Oh, dude, I was talking about that with Grace last night. Maybe it was because you had Allie in yesterday, but I was thinking about local news stuff. And I would think about because it was every day we had to put out a package. And I was a nightside reporter. And like just some of the crap I did just to get through a fucking day. Sometimes I would come home and it wasn't like this existential dread necessarily. Some days it was, but some days I was just like, what was my work today?
I'm going to push back on this a little. Okay. Now, did you produce a package each night?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, I'm really pushing back. There are people who watch local news all the time. That's all they know. And honestly, as I get older, like once in a blue moon, I'll turn on the news here in town to know what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
And if it's if it's a story that's not local, I'm like, get the fuck out of here. Like, this is local news.
Get out of here.
I want like beat it, dude. I want Cam Stewart telling me what's going on with the water treatment in Mart. Sorry, I do. Like that. So I think you're not giving yourself enough credit. Like you did make a difference.
I appreciate that, Pete.
That's true. Local news, I think, is important. It's just a matter of, can you stand it anymore?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, I guess. And like, I mean, you worked at the #1 station, so this doesn't work as much to you. But on the whole, nobody watches it. Nobody watched me.
I used to say, and people would get mad at me, they'd be like, well, KCN's doing this and Fox doing this. I'd be like, yo, can we get one thing straight? Those motherfuckers are yelling out a window, okay?
Fuck off.
Nobody's watching.
If you put it like out your window on your TV, that would double the audience, man.
I got a question for you.
Oh wait, can I one more thing, guys? I remember this is what brought it. This is what brought it up. So okay. I was watching a little bit of the news yesterday, and they had like the whole graphic and everything with the school bus, and it was like the bus stop weather report. And I'm like, think about who that's for Scotty in a couple years.
Yeah,
like a young parent to young children, but nobody Scotty's age is watching local news.
No,
nobody.
And the problem is that they might
that's
never.
40 years ago.
But yeah, they might
30
never.
years ago.
Yeah, there still are some people that watch. It's so interesting. And I'll tell you, it's still a money-making business with all the ad revenue they pull in, because like for where I used to live or work, great corporate, anytime you get a political, presidential or local
they got to pay the most.
Yeah, they pay out the waz, and it goes right to corporate. And corporate filters that down like as they see fit. And in an election year, it's crazy. And you still, at least it was last election, I'm pretty sure it will be again, that the most money spent in advertisements during election years are on local TV, local news. So it's still there, man. It's crazy. I got one question for you. I know you're tied up over there.
Well, I just saw this thing about Kayleigh McEnany. Remember her?
Oh yeah.
And
I watched.
It said, should Trump bring her back as press secretary? And someone quote tweeted it and said, every single public facing member of the admin needs to be hot. No excuses now. No hiding it. Make America healthy again means making America hot again. I think that's funny.
Oh, he'll take care of that for you.
Yeah, he's hot.
Don't worry about that.
All right, give me something I can put a thumbnail on in the last 2 minutes here.
I got you. So now you're in sports, credentialed member of the media,
Mm-hmm.
wherever you go, you were talking about going to a game on Saturday.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Like I'm now thinking about, I can't go Saturday, but I'm going to be in the DFW, but Sunday there's a window and the Eagles are in town, 325. Would you go to that game?
Yeah.
You would.
Yeah.
It's expensive.
Yeah.
I mean,
that's
no
the
matter
big
who you
hold up,
are,
right?
you're breaking it's $400 at the end of the day.
Oh, no,
you know?
See, you make more money than I do, so we're on different planes here. We're on
Yeah.
different planes. Like that's different for me than it is for you. I have always been a proponent of, and this goes contradictory to what we've been bitching about, of it's too expensive to go to games. I mean, that's a prime example right there. That's pretty much to get in plus your parking and whatever. It's going to be a couple $100.
And if you want to get good seats, like I was looking at good seats, now that's you're going, because I might do that still. That's $500 on 2 seats right there. You know,
and like, that's what I did with the Bruins game that's in Dallas next week. I'm like, I go once a year. I want them to be good seats. I'm willing to spend a little bit extra, but I like after taking 4 or 5 offers, finally got to $150 a ticket for a Thursday night regular season game for a team that like a non-rivalry team.
That's a bummer.
Like that sucks. That sucks. And so, but it goes contradictory to all of that, because I usually say, if you have a chance to go to the game, go to the game. You will never regret going to the game, even if the game sucks. Like, do I regret 5 months later going to that finals game? They lost by 40 fucking points. Not really. I wish I could have that $600 back. Yes, I do.
It's a pretty cool experience.
But
though.
yeah, and like it
You went to a
sucks for a
finals
little
game.
bit, and now I have that though.
What about this?
It's like going to the gym, man. You never regret going to the gym. It's a bitch to get to sometimes and pulling yourself up and out of bed. Not for Pete. He's in very good shape. He's great at going to the gym.
I'm not.
But
what about this last time of this, because we're up against it. I want to, if I go, I would ask my girlfriend, of course, Christy. And I'm worried that she would be like, just in her head, she's not like this, but she'd be like, oh, like this is his version of a date. Like we're going to a Cowboys. Because I still take her out to dinner a lot and stuff, but
good man.
It's always
she's
funny.
A Cowboys fan, right?
She'll want to go. She's the greatest sport of all time. So she'll go with me for sure.
Grace has been a great sport as someone who likes sports definitely less than Christy does.
Yeah.
She's been great about it. Sometimes she'll bring a book, which she brought a book when we went to the Celtics Spurs a couple of years ago.
Fan relations department with the Celtics couldn't have been thrilled about that if it was ever caught on camera.
I couldn't have been thrilled with that.
Was it a Spurs game?
Yeah, it was in San Antonio.
It was Spurs fans.
Yeah. Yes. But by the way, before we do get out of this, bringing it back to the election, I think this Trump thing with tickets is real.
What do you mean?
He's like saying that he's going to try to lower tickets to sports games and like prevent price gouging from third-party ticket sites. Like I saw that quote like Sunday. And so I'm like, okay, this is some bullshit. Like a day before the election, like they're just saying this because we're all watching Red Zone right now. But I think I saw it from a second source after the election. I think that's a real thing. Now take anything with a grain of salt from a guy who just got elected president, no matter who, right? But that is what will bring back the middle class. That is what I don't give a shit what tax breaks you give to millionaires if you're tax breaking me in a way by making it more affordable to go to sports games.
Well,
it's awesome. Former Wolves Academy goalkeeper, by the way. He was a goalkeeper in the academy for Wolverhampton Wanderers when he lived in the UK. Bet you didn't know that.
Let's go.
That's why his 6'9" son plays soccer and not basketball.
Far be it for a guy who ruined an affordable football league.
Yeah, it's true. That's
to
true.
Actually make things affordable now. Thanks.
If he does that, I'm in.
Yeah.
This hat becomes a little bit darker red.
I think that'd be really cool.
That would honestly be like a really cool thing for. Just I don't know, if nothing else, public morale
for Middle America.
That's really is like help, that is a big Middle America thing. I don't know.
Mike's in here telling us to wrap it up.
He's like, stop making it political.
Mike, what was on your computer?
What the fuck is this? What is this?
Oh,
Pete Souza.
It's a post-it that says, "I know what you did last summer."
1 o'clock. 1 o'clock, Pete Souza Show on the Pete Souza Show YouTube. We'll be back here high noon Eastern tomorrow, 11 a.m. Central Time. And then afterwards, you could get the show wherever you get your podcast. Live every day on YouTube. It is the Cam Show. Special thank you to Pete, to Matt Barry, to Scotty, keeping us on the air. We will see you tomorrow.
You are here with your shoot first point guard, Corey Dickman.
Also, if you're not creating new fans in a small market, then you're not creating that base of people to go to games and pay for merchandise and pay for stuff and concessions at the Moda Center and yada yada.
Yeah, let's talk draft. That's the only thing we have to look forward to.
The only thing we have to look forward to. That's what I will teach my son. You will teach your daughter as Blazers fans. It's like, look, the two most exciting times of the year for us are the draft lottery and the draft itself. Like, here we are. This is our thing. Give me some memories and thoughts. I know you had mentioned kind of the first time you had met Bill. What were some of those first memories that came back when you heard the news?
Coming up on the Pete Souza Show, Rogue Media and ESPN's own King McClure talks with us about the NBA draft.
The team is banged up.
Are you getting undressed while we're doing this?
No.
What is happening?
And it's partially because the team has like pretty kind
Wrong
of big
podcast, Mick. Wrong podcast. When you're a golfer, what is the point of no return? He was the best play-by-play announcer around, in my opinion, and he made me want to continue to watch.
We definitely love our relationship and love Extraco. It's been an amazing experience.
They made the PPP process easier. They were reaching out to me saying, what can I do to help you? That made a huge difference because my stress level, when we shut down, to afterwards was night and day.
Our experience with Extraco has been phenomenal since the very beginning, so we love Extraco.
Nobody tells our stories better than our clients.
The difference is stark. I was rear-ended at a stop. I thought I was fine, and then once I got home, I realized it's a lot worse than I thought. I ended up having a ruptured disc. You say you're not hurting, and then an hour later, you're saying you're in all this pain. I just felt like most people would think that I was lying. And that's when I decided to call Daniel Stark. I owe a lot to Daniel Stark. They really got me what I deserved.
The difference is stark.
We are Rogue Media Sports.